Any graduate of any faculty or department is well grounded to go anywhere in the world and excel. And I and himself had gone to Senate to solve some issues of the medical school. Then he left me and went to conduct a test in class. And after the test, he said, those who attempt this test will not write the exam.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Uniben Alumni Series. On this show, we showcase the very best of men and women that have gone through the University of Benin. And on today's episode, we have a great man with us, a former Student Union President and President Emeritus of the Ijaw Youth Council. Is the founder of Medical Outreach. He's a man of different progressive paths. So during the course of the conversation, we'll also get to know other things he has been into and what he's into. He's Dr. Chris Ekiyor. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Fantastic. We'll delve into the conversation right away, sir. I'm meant to understand that you had your early education in Niger State.
Yeah. Okay. That's part of it. My secondary school, basically, and
okay, was in Niger
I think
State.
I finished. I finished my late primary education. You know, my dad was a police officer, so we moved around a bit from Plateau to Niger to Delta and all of that. So yeah, I had.
Okay, I was preparing ground for my question. Why you chose University of Benin for your tertiary education, having spent your secondary school, so part of your secondary school in Niger State, and you were just telling me that your father is a police officer, he moved around the country. So why did you choose Uniben?
Okay, a couple of factors. First, my mom is Benin, so Benin was home for me, and I needed to come home a bit closely to the family. But more importantly, was that in my early secondary school days, I had a guy, Michael Zomina, who was a copper that read industrial chemistry in Benin and was posted to Niger State and was my chemistry and physics teacher. And it was one of the best that I experienced that motivated me to even hold on to my dreams of studying the medical sciences. So I made up my mind that if this is a product from Uniben with all this kind of cerebralness, then that's where I must go. So it was one of the major motivations. I don't know where this guy is. I've tried to look for him all these years without success.
Oh, okay. Hopefully you will get to see him soon. You studied dental surgery at the University of Benin. Is that correct? Yes. Was that your first choice of course?
Okay, it's always a very strange thing. You know, I didn't even know about dentistry until I was offered dentistry. I knew that there were doctors of different fields, and I wanted to be a doctor. And actually wrote JAM, and I think I was admitted to medicine, MBBS, in 1991. But my O level then was not complete. And you know, this was the era where you have to, we don't even know nobody to talk about all the problems. I had not passed my mathematics, so I had to go back to IC, do A levels and study, and then I had to get my mathematics and physics and all of that again. So I then wrote JAM, and you know the story. You wrote JAM, and then you applied for medicine. First batch came out, we were not there. Then second batch, somebody says, your name is in dentistry. I'm like, dentistry? What that? They say it's in med school. I said, okay, in med school, I'm going to med school. So I took my bag and then I went in there. And with first, of course, with the intention that when I get there, I will read so hard and change to medicine. And then I got to dental school and found out that I was actually a medical student and there was nowhere to change to. So I had to come to love dentistry. And looking back now, I think it's fantastic.
No, okay. Let's talk about your student unionism, your political life as a student. You mentioned that as SUG President in 2004, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your motivating factor to vie for the number one student position? And if you can brief us from the moment you had the ambition to the campaigns to the election, how was it for you? How was this experience for you?
Okay, in the era when we got into Uniben, we got our baptism of fire. Our show was getting out as student union president. And I was campaigning to be student union president then. It was 96 or 1996, 97. So, and he had come to her for to campaign. And he was basking in the euphoria of his words and blasting, articulating and all of that. And I said to my roommate, we're both a one dental student in her four. And I said, oh boy, that's the office I would like to occupy when I get to that level. And so from year one, I started working towards it. I got involved in a lot of social activities on campus, Barakbo, JCs, everything that was going to make me build network of people. I was in the faculty parliament. I was in student parliament once or twice, just to build networks across the faculty. But that was the motivation factor. Somebody who was backing and basking and relating and shouting and articulating, trying to address the oppression of the people at the time. And I said, yes, I like to be one of those who fight for the minority or the oppressed. So I started thinking about it. So wherever I found myself, I was a vocal voice in a small circle of people building networks. So in 400 level, I took a shot to be president of the Faculty of Dentistry, called it BOTSA, Benin University Dental Students Association. Somehow I was the most popular candidate, but I lost by a narrow 4 votes. And my classmate won. But that election was keenly contested. And the medical college realized that there was capacity because we're campaigning in the medical school. So the medical college realized there was capacity in this young guy. So when that same year I took a shot in the parliament as a parliamentarian to be speaker, a whole lot of medical students were behind me, campaigning and were networking. I also lost that to a medical student, Evaristus, with another margin of 7 votes. So I had 2 back-to-back losses in 1 year. And then the following year, I decided that I was going to run for student union president. In fact, I didn't decide. The parliamentarians, including Eva, said, look, because I was not a minority, I was not opposition leader in the parliament. So the parliamentarians in the student union, including Evaristus, the speaker, thought that this guy, as a student union president, will dare the system and change it. So they started rallying around me. Why don't you take a shot? And I said, well, they are coming to my table. Because in all of those elections, I just wanted to be known, seen, heard, and respected. So that when I aspire eventually for the SUG, I'm a known entity. I won't be coming out from nowhere. So actually, they walked into my own calculation when they started saying, you could be a student union president and all of that. So it was a walkover. We're 10 candidates, but I had majority of the faculty had already known me. Majority of the active politicians and progressives, we call them, were already with me. So it was easy to break in. But what was the formula? I also knew that those who were political were not compliant with school rules in terms of paying school fees. And you can't even vote without the school fees. So I focused on the female gender. I mobilized them to campaign for me. And they were the ones that paid school fees. So we had a large number of them working on one or two off-camp Faculty of Education, Agri. So we went about that. And then, of course, medical students had to pay their school fees. So we tried to hold the faculty together, the College of Medicine, and then the Faculty of Pharmacy. So it was strategic. We looked at it. We didn't bother much about engineering. Engineering boys, they pay the school fees only when they don't hold So engineering had a candidate, law had a candidate, almost all were 10 in a row. But eventually, I think I became the first dental student to be elected officially. We've had somebody appointed as a caretaker school rep. I think AGK, my senior dentist, but officially I became the first dental student to be elected as SUG president. I don't know. After me, we had other medical students who came, but that was it. And we did our bit then.
I want to ask, how were you able to manage your academics? Because especially for those of us in the social sciences, we see those in the medical sciences as the more serious students. So how were you able to manage your academics and the leadership position that you find yourself, the SUG president?
Okay, so we were some of those who came to school in our 20s. We were already in our 20s because we had spent like 3, 4 years at home, finishing secondary school at 17. So we were a little bit more matured. We understood. I'd actually done some jobs, working 1 or 2 places. So I had a working class mindset as a student. So I still usually would leave school to go and hustle, do some business, and come back. So I'd already experienced how to manage my time in terms of work and study. It's not without some price to pay, so I had to do some receipts once in a while. I had to. I used to tell people I had to repeat class one time too. It's and I'm not ashamed to say that. I say that because I knew I was having my challenge trying to raise money to sort out school issues and support myself and all of that. I'm trying to be an adult while in school. So it became even clearer when I became a SUG president that I cannot afford to even write a receipt because I was the #1 student. So I had to now manage that time more properly and true to type. I think because I was now faced with more challenge. Why was it so? I will have to dare the management, and the management will call my provost of the college, who was Professor Konofua, and say this medical student is giving us problem. And then he will call me to his office, and I'll make my case. And I say, but if this is the case, why are they complaining? Please follow me. We'll go to VC's office, and then he will say, Mr. VC, this is what the man told me. And VC will say, is that what it is? Why did they report it to me? He would then call a meeting of the Senate or a meeting of the management team, and then they will agree and follow me to the location, and I'll prove to them what I was arguing was real. For instance, there was a time I had to blow the SUG 01 to the VC's office and park there and say the VC will not park in this parking lot until he follows us to all two, because all two D block was beginning to become an endangered area that can generate an epidemic in the school because they were doing short put, and the whole of that all two that D block angle was not like a dump site for feces and all of that, and people were walking through all three through that angle, so the whole place was not habitable. I insisted, and then the registrar, who was here, said, "What if this is what the young man is saying? This is not our university. Why are we not going to go there?" So the management followed me there. In fact, the VC immediately called the physical planning, called works department, called everybody, and we drove for all two. And then I took them straight to D block. I can imagine the expression on the face of the VC and the DVC. That was what ordered the immediate renovation of all the hostels at that time. So all the 4 hostels, and then including the opening of the hall 5, which they call the Central Bank Hostel, and of course allowing students to access the Intercontinental Bank Hostel. So that kind of stunt was there for me. And then in class, in med school, you have to meet attendance. I have to go to lecture. But I had some fantastic lecturers who understood I was playing on president. So what they used to say is, you would excuse his non-attendance, but you will give him notes, and he has to study. So 1 or 2 lecturers did that. So and then they waived. Sometimes as student in president, you may have gone to one meeting not dressing with tie and coat. So they waived that principle of corporate dressing to class for me. So if I found myself with native in a function and I'm returning to school, I would just go straight to class with it, and they allowed it. It was just for me. And that was Professor Ibawa, it was Dr. Ibawa then. But there was no. I had my share also from Kubenje in my medicine class when we were doing medicine exam. And I and himself had gone to Senate to solve some issues of the medical school. Then he left me and went to conduct a test in class. And after the test, he said, those who attempt this test will not write the exam. So it was a big issue. I went around and he said, no, you have time to do SUG president and all of kind of things. But eventually I realized I have to then study. Having missed the test, I need to study so hard to get the pass mark. And no pass mark in med school was 50%. I wasn't looking for 75. I wasn't looking for a distinction. I just wanted to pass. So I just aim at my 50/70 and then I'm good.
Okay. You just mentioned some things you did as SUG president, especially as regards the plight of the students. What will you say is your greatest achievement as Uniben SUG?
Well, a lot. First, I met a school where even when we were campaigning, there were robins in the custody. In fact, you couldn't move from education to faculty to the 500 LT without being robbed within the school. Some young boys, call boys, were doing all kinds of things. There were several killings between a custody and BDPA, and there were areas where sometimes you could even just behead somebody and put the head on the street there, and there were rapes going on. So I knew that there was a tax to deal with. So one of the things I said to myself was that if there was conflict, can't we solve this conflict without killing? So yes, once I became SUG president, I invited a lot of the boys that I think that were violent and formed what we call the Rainbow Coalition of confraternity in the school then. And I said to them, well, listen, we don't have to fight to win. We have a common enemy, the system. We are not enemies of ourselves. I want to work with all of you to solve the problems of the system. If there are any crises that was brewing before, I want it brought on the table, let me deal with it. And then I work with the DSS with a promise to them that if they cooperate and we work, I'll put a stop to this. But if they do not, I will bust them with the DSS. So there was a carrot and stick approach in the court and in the court angle. And for that 1 year, honestly speaking, nobody was killed on campus. So it was a big achievement. Now we had also just experienced the winding off of Okadas within campus. So students trek everywhere, isn't it? And then we have to trek to main gate. And then at main gate, it was like Uselu Park. Everywhere was rowdy, buses and all of that. And then for a student to get his money, he needed to go also trek to UBTH and go to UBA behind UBTH to get your fund. Or you go to First Bank at Uselu. And most times when you get your small money, people are timing you. They go and rob your money and all those kind of. So girls were complaining. So I went to Wema Bank on a visit and said to them, look, we need a bank in this school. This school has a big investment. The NMB was closed and nobody's willing to open a bank. Why don't you guys come and open a retail center where we can just pay money and receive money? And then we wrote to them, and then they asked us to write. We wrote to them as students union. They then brought the first ATM machine to the faculty, to the library, and they installed an ATM machine and gave ATM cards to students. So you didn't need to go to bank. You just go to the ATM machine and get your money. And what were we taking then? 1,000, 2,000 to manage ourselves. Or it was, of course, it was coming in 2020 naira notes. Yeah. So and it was a lot of money then. So some people even 200 to manage themselves. So that was it. And then Akingbola came to be inaugurated in the university, to be given Akingbola was the manager in charge of Intercontinental Bank. Yes. The VC mentioned to me that they need to give him something honoris causa, PhD. Yes. And then I said, this is an opportunity to get to this guy. So we confronted him, and when we were in the Capitol, I said to him, you built us a hostel. We're happy. We need a bank. I said, is that it? So he ordered the people in Benin to send in a memo. So Intercontinental Bank also embraced the process. So when Intercontinental Bank was now coming to build, it looked like River Bank were wasting their time. They rushed in. Mm-hmm. And then before I know, every other bank started rushing in. So we now actually have a banking avenue. So that was another achievement. Then the Student Union Shuttle Bus is also our brainchild. What did we do then? It was a case of anybody who could afford, who knows a bus driver, who just go and put SUG sticker on the bus. And then the bus driver will be settling that student. And it was common among parliamentarians and faculty heads and the union people. So, and then you hear that one student union bus is having problem. You go there, it's not even a school bus. It's one of these buses that are put. So it was like a miscreant system. So I seized all those buses with the SUG sticker. There were about 40 to June 12 building. And I said to them, how did they get the sticker? I ordered a task force to investigate, and we found out this was the method. So we said to them, well, you won't deal with individual, you deal with the union. So the union will officially give you a bus, but this is our condition. You will carry our students at this price, and this price alone. Discount price. And that was the era where there could be no fuel, and Bobizwa would just hold on Ring Road. All the local buses who are doing things in Ring Road will not come to Ogbowo. So we said, if we give you a student union sticker, your route will be Ring Road to Ekiyor campus, Ring Road to Ogbowo. If we see you in another route, we'll confiscate your bus. And they agreed and they signed an MOU. And then they were now paying us weekly. There was some money, I can't remember the amount, weekly. And then the school said this was what caused the death of William Obo. And I said, no. They said, no, they want to manage it. I said, you can't manage our resources. But the school now said, can we make it official? So Dean of Students, myself, and some people were set up into a committee. And then I proposed the Student Union Shuttle, Uniben Student Shuttle Services. And I said the money should be paid to the treasury of the school account, a special account where weekly the student union can go and sign operational forms. I think that was an operation, and a lot of buses, over 100 buses came to register. The condition was that if they walk into any filling station where there's a queue, they will give them fuel as a priority. And then they were not to be disturbed by all this Agbero in town. Mm-hmm. So we went to see Tony Kabaka, then was one of the people running Ring Road. We went to see him, Suburb Bizwa, and all the big names are student union. Of course, everybody's afraid of student union. Yeah. So our buses could now go. Now, in every good thing, there's a bad thing. The bad thing is that some of these buses now started taking charter to Abraka, charter to Warri. So you just be traveling, you see SUG's bus going to Abuja. But students benefited, and I think the shuttle service is still on.
Yes.
Then, of course, we had a couple of sad events where hit and run drivers knocked down students crossing to BDP. So we spoke to the VC about moving the footbridge by UBTH that was not in use. Nobody used it. People driving to UBTH and their buses also go and stop right there. So we said, can they negotiate with Oredo? It was owned by Oredo then.
Okay.
And so they allowed the school. So we moved the footbridge to main gate. Today it has been modified to a better footbridge and it's now there. I don't know where it is, somewhere between main gate and UBTH.
Yeah.
We did that.
The main gate,
then to clear the main gate, instead of making it look like a Selu Park, I insisted that we have land in the school. Why don't we create a park properly? So if you enter Uniben today by the right, you see the student union park. That was they had to call physical planning to find out if the space was available in a meeting that was co-chaired by myself and the dean of students, and the VC approved of it. It was also built. So, and then I think we started the process of trying to move dentistry from where we were in that little corner by L4. We argued that we should be moved in. A couple of one or two, the NDDC hostel also were part of it. Timea Library was in charge of NDDC, was my job brother, and we tried to see how we could get them to do something in the school. Eventually, the DC then was able to get them to approve medical hostel. When the DC had to come and build. People are living there now today. It started in our time, but it wasn't finished then. We also dared to, what else? What was that again that we did? We also saw to it that the hostel allocation system changed.
Okay.
Before now, some people in student affairs would just give it to their cronies, and then those ones would then be racketeering it. So you get to school, you have to always buy from one girl or one guy or somebody who has people. So we decided that you go online, the portal service, pay your school fees, and click accommodation, and that the school must keep 40% for new students, 30% for year 2 to penultimate students, and 30% for final year students. So that was the priority. So the earlier you paid your school fees, the more likely that you were going to get accommodation. And then we made sure that they were not able to sell. In my time, you couldn't sell. I don't know why they've changed that now. You couldn't sell because you can't enter at a certain time if you are not having the ID. And so you can't get the ID unless you are registered from the portal. And it worked. And we reverted back also that the utility rooms were not utility rooms. Because initially they converted them to hostels. And of course, the hostels kept expanding. And we started the conversation of build, operate, and transfer, the BBT, where we wanted private people to come. Because we had land at the Capitol end down there after the district, lying fallow. We said, why can't they get private investors to build hostels for even a higher fee? Instead of us paying off campus 120,000 or 30,000, let's pay like 80,000 on campus where we are sure of security, no confraternity people disturbing us. And I think Professor Wanzi, who was a VC then, gave us his word and started that conversation. Of course, today I hear there are a lot of private hostels within and around the system. So those were ideas we muted. So yes, we did what we needed to do. I did one Aluta, and that actually two. The first one was when Obasanjo wanted to hand over hostels to private people to manage government hostels. And we had to go to Unilag. I led students to Unilag where we had a siege, what they call a serious siege, where we had meetings and what they call Aluta with sense. That's what the slogan we're using there. And we stood up to Obasanjo not to sell that hostel. Tony Oye, who is now a senator, was the NANS president there, and of course, he was pro-Obasanjo. So I had several conflicts with him over the principles of agreeing to everything Obasanjo said. Myself and Musa was the Senate president, we were with, I don't know, Shimole in Labour, while Tony was with the president at the other end. But we battled it, and then I did an Aluta where I moved over 5,000 students to town to stop the insistent increase in price of fuel. We had to take a message to Lucky Millennium to help us take to the president. And we shut down Benin for one day. But it was an Aluta that was bloodless. Nobody's property was destroyed. So it was something that was a feat to have achieved at that time at our age, in our 20s.
Yeah. Okay, sir, for a lot of people, Uniben is different things to them. For you, what are the attributes you took from Uniben that you think are still very useful to you today for the day-to-day activities and all that?
All right, so these are emotional matters. When you say it, people will think it's because you go to Uniben. In our minds, those of us who are alumni, we believe that it's Uniben and the rest. Unibest is the best, world the best. Call them whatever name. We believe that any graduate of the University of Benin can contend with anybody, anywhere, and any graduate of any faculty or department is well grounded to go anywhere in the world and excel. An average student in University of Benin will be a scholar anywhere else. That's our thought. Because we were already, the exams they were setting for us was to make you fail. They set exam to fail you. They are not, there's no intention to pass you. The lecturers are just naturally that hard that they will teach you and then set exams to fail you. I don't know why it's like that, but that was what it was. Because the exam will be so bogus that no matter how you have read, there are loops that you cannot cover. So because you understand that university students will read what they have been taught and read more than what they have been taught in preparing for the exam. Exam is war for an average university student. And you can imagine students reading 16 hours under the tree, under the guava, inside sports complex, everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and cheating was something that was not allowed. You were going to be rusticated. In fact, there was no second opportunity. So, to go to University of Benin, you have to be egghead, because even the cutoff mark to get into any faculty, it's something different from anywhere else. And it's a sought after university. I think it's the second most sought after university, if not the most.
Yeah.
In our time, it was the most sought after. There were no private universities at that time. So people from the west, from the north, everybody wants to come to University of Benin. So there's something about it. And the east, like that. So yes, looking at it, I think that I love that my children go to Uniben, but unfortunately they are in private universities because of all these issues. So Uniben, it's a molder of people, a molder of character, in principles, in character and in learning. That's how they qualify us.
Yeah.
So I pride my Uniben certificate as one of the best achievements of my life, because I earned every letter on it by my sweat and hard work.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Lastly, how significant the role Uniben played to prepare you for these positions?
All right. So I think that I led a couple of organizations in university. So leadership and training was part of what's happened. I was in many associations. I was president of Paraport twice. I was, parliamentarian. So it was easy to bring those learnings to bear when it became necessary as leadership. So yes, I was council chairman, and I revolutionized the council, and people still make reference to it till date. That's a long time ago. I think this is about 12 years now. People still make reference to my tenure as council chairman since I left. I was president of Ijaw Youth Council almost about 14 years ago. I handed over in 2010. It's the reference point in the struggles of our people as Ijaw people. I was Commissioner of Commerce and Industry in Delta State. It was a short stint, but I think that each time I walk into people from Delta, they said the ministry was moribund until I became commissioner, and it became alive. And when I left, it's still challenged till now. So I think Uniben helped me. Even now, I run my private practice. I have 4 hospitals in Nigeria, one in Abuja, small clinical running, one in Benin, one in Port Harcourt, and one, of course, a community-based hospital in my village. I'm able to manage all of this together as the chief medical director, based on the knowledge base that we acquire. And I've never left my clinic in terms of practice. I'm a GP, I do general dental practice, and then I'm always in the clinic. I'm talking to you from my little corner of the office this morning, and I have some patients I'm going to see later. I was a little bit behind time because I was reviewing a patient I had already seen the previous day. So yes, the ability to multitask was from Uniben, because I had to be a student and a student union president, and I had to be in management meetings, I had to go to Senate meetings, I had to also be in class, and then I had to be a leader of people of my generation. So it's been very wonderful. It's something that we imbibed from Uniben, having gone through the rollerblades and the Rubicon while in the university.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really glad speaking to you.
Thank you, Tarwin. You're also doing us pride as an alumni. This your creative concept is something that we like, and we're always available to support it whichever way we can. Showcasing the university. I hope that the university gets to appreciate what you're doing for it, because you're putting it in the global center.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We have been speaking.
Well, the part that you did not ask, I'm also a distinguished alumni.
The
University of Benin.
Yes.
I know there are very few of us globally. So,
congratulations for that, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We've been speaking to Dr. Chris Ekiyor, a former commissioner in Delta State, former Ijaw Youth Council president, and he has given us a lot of talking points when he was SUG president, and also just as a student of our great University of Benin. Continue to share this video. We'll bring you more exclusive interviews. Thank you.